Hi, everybody, and welcome to Top Cyber COVID-19 Concerns for Community Associations webinar. I'm Sherry Branson, Marketing Manager for Kevin Davis Insurance, and that's a lot of C's. I call it the 4 C's. Cyber COVID Concerns, Community Associations. And we're happy to bring this great webinar to you today. We have a very special guest who I'll introduce in a minute. And I'm joined by Kevin Davis, founder of Kevin Davis Insurance. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Sherry.
Morning. And my very special guest, Alan Crandall, Director of the West Region Community Association Banking from CIT. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Sherry.
And I'd like to welcome everybody from across the country. We're doing another COVID webinar because we had such a great response last month when we talked about COVID and community associations. So today we're going to focus on cyber. And I did want to mention that if we have time at the end of the webinar, we'll answer some of your questions. And if we don't have time to get to all of them, don't worry. I'll email you back or give you a call. But there's a question box on the screen. You can type into that questions box, and then we'll be getting to them at the end of today's session. And I record all of our webinars and put them on our website, which is kdisonline.com. And you can listen to today's webinar and all of our past webinars there. I did want to mention a Verizon data breach report came out recently, and it talked about that 86% of cyber breaches in 2019 were financially motivated, which is up from 71% in 2018. So we're talking about a very serious subject, and many people are seeing them on the rise. There's more and more breaches. And so Kevin, can you talk about our goal today? You know, what we're planning to cover?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I'm glad that Alan's here. Alan and I have done these cyber things for several years now. And this year, it seems gotten more serious because of COVID-19. There's so many things happening out there. So I thought it'd be an opportunity to bring Alan here from his banking background and kind of talk about it from our perspective. So what we're going to do today is identify the cyber threats that are out there for community associations and what we can do to protect them. You know, we'll talk about some insurance stuff. We'll talk about other things too, particularly from the banking side, because again, Alan sees a lot of these different things, more so than he even probably wants to see himself. So looking forward to it. And again, if you have any questions, put them in there. We're here to answer your questions about what we're talking about cyber today. Okay, so let's get started. So I guess the first thing, Alan, we'll start with, do you believe associations are really targeted right now, more so than anybody else, any other corporations?
Yeah, well, a lot of corporations are targeted, but one of the things that makes community associations a particularly sweet target is that they have lots and lots of money. They're reserve funds, and most of the entities that support them don't have the same level of robust cyber defenses that, say, a bank or a Sony or somebody like that would do. And we know from what we see in the news that banks and companies like Sony, even they're getting penetrated by these guys, even with their level of cyber defense. So if those types of entities are getting successfully attacked, that's the caliber of the people that are going to come after your community or your law firm or your insurance company going forward. They are very, very good at what they do. And to kind of frame our discussion here, one of the things to look at when we drill down on these community associations is your average community association is about a third first-time home buyers, borrowed money from mom and dad for that down payment. They don't have a lot of extra money laying around. A third are retirees, fixed income, limited, very finite, nest egg. They don't have a lot of extra money around. And so the other third are pretty much everybody else in between. And if there's an attack on some of these communities and their reserve monies disappear and they don't have the additional protection that the various types of insurance coverages out there provide, they're in a world of hurt. And so if there's anything to motivate you to spend particular attention to our seminar today, it's that we're going to be talking about ways to help protect real people like your friends and neighbors and your family members. So please pay particular attention to some of the tips we're going to give you today. It will save people. It really will.
Yeah, Al, let me add a little something to it, because on our D&O side, we see some of the issues that it impacts associations. And one of them is that instead of boards of directors being focused in on the reserve account and the operating account, they focus on when the pool is going to open, when the gym's going to open up. And why are you letting the landscaper in now? Don't we know that social distancing said we can't have landscapers in here? We don't think so. Right now, more so than ever before, we see community associations are being distracted from a lot of different activities going on out there, and that distraction it causes people. So I don't know. I can't say community associations are targeted so much as it is. They make it easier for people to go after. You make it easier. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the reserve accounts. Once these thieves out there understand that associations have a bundle of money set aside for reserve accounts, and they see the distractions that they're caused, especially if you happen to live there, and you see the boards more focusing on the pool and things. So what are you going to say? Yeah.
Right, and I would agree with you on that, Kevin. And the other problem we have today, and this gets back to our COVID-19 situation, is we have management companies and other companies that are now have the majority of their staff aren't in the office anymore. So they're relying on emails more than ever before. That their normal day-to-day conversations with somebody that literally 2 weeks ago or a month ago would have been sitting next to you is now an email communication. So the email volumes are going up, so people have more to deal with, and the majority of these attacks are coming through emails. So you have a higher probability that somebody will be more susceptible to an email attack if surely just on the volume of emails people have to deal with every day, which would lend itself to degrade their ability to identify fake emails that are designed as a phishing attack or something like that.
Yeah, and I think you're right too in terms of we have these people who are new. You have a third, and a third, but they all experienced people who are living in a community association for the first time and not understanding their rules and responsibilities they have to take care of. And what they do is they do give all that information over to the management company, and the management company has the same issues because they're a small company too that really don't have that kind of controls or any kind of situation where they understand cyber activity more so than a major corporation. Major corporation banks, they get hacked all the time, and you have these small companies that probably do more so.
Well, they have a situation where the bigger companies can afford to go and hire outside consultants to come in and really go through their systems. I know with our bank, we have a very robust defense, and we have an internal group that tests us with test emails to see if we fall for them and things like that. The typical business out there doesn't have that ability. So those types of attacks are going to become more and more common. One of the battles that I know some of our property management companies struggle with is boards of directors who want to put virtually everything on the association's website. So they put board minutes that talk about the construction project or the special assessment they're going to do. They post their actual reserve balances on there. I've seen them where they've actually put account numbers on their website. And for the majority don't have passwords for homeowners to access. And those that do somehow think that their simplistic password system is going to stop guys that are of the sophisticated level that can attack the Pentagon, can attack Sony, can attack banks. Their very simplistic password system is not going to stop them. So they're just putting targeting information out there for these guys to find and hunt them down and try to get them. And the big fear for you management company people out there, or for you insurance folks who handle a lot of management companies, is when they attack, they're going to attack the management company, because the management company is the nexus of the activity. That everything flows to and from the management company. So if I know from the board minutes that Alan Crandall with ABC Management was in attendance and did the presentation about the financial statements, I now go to the website for ABC Management, and I can see on there that's on their contact list that tells them who the controller is. And now I do a phishing attack on the controller, compromise their login information, and now I'm into their system, and now I see, and listen closely, now I have the ability to do everything that controller can do. I can see every account. I can request bank statements. I can instruct people to do wire transfers. Because as far as the system is concerned, I am the controller because I logged in as the controller. And many systems don't have safeguards that do something to prevent multiple logins. So the controller could be logged in, and the system sees that there's somebody else logged in at the same time as the controller, but it was never designed to do anything about it. So it doesn't lock them both out. It doesn't not allow a second person to log in under the same credentials. So for those of you who have these systems and you have consultants who maintain them, that would be a good question for you. What happens if two people are logged in under the same user ID and password at the same time on our system? What happens? And if they give you a blank look, you got a problem. They're not cyber oriented.
Yeah.
They're system oriented, but not cyber theft oriented. And with the amount of dollars that many of the management companies and large self-managed associations have, that's an easy payday for somebody. Look, if I'm pulling down $500,000 to $1 million a month from Bangladesh stealing from somebody, do you think I could help buy local protection so you can't come after me? Do you think I could go and hire allies to help me figure out how to get into your system? Of course, it's organized crime. It's very profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just talk about how they're targeting, exactly how they're targeting. And when we talked earlier, you talked about how these COVID emails are going out there. And particularly targeting these community associations. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so once they know that there's money to go after, remember, this is their business. Look at yourself. Your time is limited. So I'm going to spend the majority of my time doing activities that's going to give me the best return. So if I've got 5 associations to choose from, one's got 5 million and the rest are down to like 500,000, I'm going to spend my time on the $5 million one, right? So with the COVID situation right now, so many more people that are part of this community association or management company operation are now dispersed. And like I talked earlier, we're all using emails. So it's all about ambush, the social engineering ambush. So I create an email that I just send out. The person who I know is the controller, because I went to the web page and saw who the controller was. And oh, by the way, you gave me their email address, so I can go right to the controller because we're trying to be open to everybody, right? Good intentions, potentially bad results. So I send an email, and in the subject I put World Health Organization notice of COVID outbreaks in your community. Now they play on your curiosity and they play on your concern because, you know, it's a big deal out there. We're hear about it all in the news. And then a little link. And they say, click on this link to find out what's going on in your community with COVID-19. And you click on the link and you just put a Trojan software on your system, and it's the slim edge of the wedge. It's the first step on them getting into your system and having the ability to get access to all of that information that's confidential. It's easy to do, and it's very deadly. It's deadly. So the targeting is relatively easy. Homework assignment in your local community. Go do a search for community association budget, condo budget, and see what pops up. You will be shocked of what you will find is out on the internet. And if you can find it that way, take a minute. Now, fortunately, to date, the major players out there have not discovered that the community association industry is its own niche. They've come across it occasionally. We've seen our customers attacked. We know that our peer banks have seen customers attacked. So we know it's happening out there, but we haven't seen anybody that's actually specifically focused on just this industry. But here's another assignment. Go to any of your trade organization main web pages, go to the membership section, professional members, and look for the management company list, and you'll get a list of every management company in that geographic area. All of their primary contact information. They typically also include a website address. Pick one, go to the website address, and look for how do you contact us or contact and see if they list team members of their company. Then I go to Facebook and I search for Kevin Davis in the area that I know you live. Kevin Davis got a Facebook account. And I see that he went fishing with Alan Crandall last week. And so I send him a dummy email that he thinks from Alan Crandall, and it says, Kevin, click on this email. It's got pictures from our fishing trip. And you go, I don't remember Alan Crandall taking pictures. I'm curious. What has he got? I click on the link. It doesn't go anywhere. And I think, oh, well, Alan Crandall messed it up. And I move on to the hundreds of emails that I have that day, right? Kevin doesn't know that he just put a Trojan malware on a system that's now going to start keylogging every keystroke you make and reporting back to me suspected user IDs and passwords. It records every keystroke that Kevin would make from that point forward. It has a little AI in it, artificial intelligence, that says, here are suspected user IDs and passwords. And then I get one that says, RZB 1455, Puppy Blue Dog, right? The chance that that's a user ID and a password, and I try to log in remotely, and the defenses aren't there, and now I'm in. It's that easy. Everybody on this call could become a property.
It's interesting. You mentioned last year you and I were in Hawaii and we did a presentation. When I landed in Hawaii, I got a call from the person who handles our finances in our office, asked me how many gift cards do I want. I said, I didn't ask for any gift cards. And that fast, somebody looked up, knew I was going to go to Hawaii, knew we were doing this program together. They did all the research ahead of time, knew I was going to go. So by the time I got there, they knew I couldn't make any, they knew I wasn't going to make any phone calls. So she just knew. Fortunately, she called up instead of sending out emails or logging in or doing things that were told. So it is so easy. And so it's easy to do that by just looking at the information. And I agree. Right now, we are so open, and we're open, and we want to tell everybody everything, all of our business. But as a result, people are always looking at that information and seeing the fact that, guess what? As a result of these things, I have now access into your system. And one thing you're right is that once they get inside your system, it's like you being there. So they have access to all the data, all the information, everything that needs here. So
they can see everything you can see. They can do. Here's the other part. They can do everything you can do. Wires. They can generate emails. The other thing that we're starting to see right now was prevalent before, but it's even more now with COVID-19. Is you get an email from your boss that says, be on the lookout for this bill for $5,000 for ABC Tracker as an example. Make sure you pay it. So you see the bill, and you remember the email from your boss, and you pay it. And then you tell your boss later, well, I got the email, make sure I paid that ABC Tracker bill. And they go, what bill? What are you talking about? You just got tricked. You just got tricked for paying a bill that shouldn't have got paid. And it went to an account that's now closed. That's how insidious this is.
Yeah, I would say right now, we're just talking about social engineering, and social engineering is probably the easiest way to get somebody into somebody's system. The easy way is no easier way than to ask somebody, give me your password and your ID, please, and people give it to them. And once they get that information, it's over. And right now, social engineering is probably the biggest area. It's easier to do that than it is to have somebody click on a link or things like that. And I can just see the same thing.
Yeah. So one of the other things to watch for is right now in our current environment, they know that a good ambush target is anything with the word COVID-19, Wuhan virus. They'll put that in the subject line, right? So watch for that, and then beware of any attachments or links. If they're going to send you something as a notice, well, then the data should be in the notice. If it's got an attachment or a link, delete it. Don't click on it, because you don't know what Pandora's box you just opened up, trying to be curious and concerned, right?
Yeah.
How many COVID cases were in my town? I live in a small town called Bothell here in Washington State. How many COVIDs are going on here? I don't know. Oh, I just got a notice that said, oh, the World Health Organization or the state of Washington or the mayor's office of Bothell, doesn't matter who it's from, right? They can actually go to that website, copy the logo, put it on their email and send it to you. So if you got an email from the Secretary of State for your state or the local sheriff, and it has something about COVID-19, you might click on it. The odds are you will. 99% of the people would click on it. Oh, this is from the sheriff. This is from the local hospital. This is from the mayor. This is from the county supervisor. This is from the Secretary of State. This is from the governor. I need to know what's going on. We need to see if this applies to us. Right? Curiosity and concern. When you clicked on it, you're done. You're done. They're now in.
All right, so let's talk about protections. I think that's the key thing now. All right, so we get the idea that, and that's interesting. Like, I didn't think about that. All these COVID, I get emails all the time from from different carriers and say, hey, guess this is what's new in COVID. This is protections available. This is what you got to click on. And you're right. It's so easy to be tricked and to do something. So let's talk about the protections available. I'm gonna address some of the insurance part, but right now it's more important because when we talk about the insurance, the two biggest problems in insurance is most of the people don't have proper insurance, and the people who do have the proper insurance have the adequate limit. So those are two issues right now that I've run into over the past several years. So what kind of protections you see that you can recommend?
Well, on the operational side, and that's from the standpoint of how do I try to reduce the probability that this is going to happen before I ever have to get my insurance company involved. When in doubt, train your people. Don't just train them once, train them regularly. Maybe once or twice a year you have a cybersecurity lunch and learning. You just talk about it. Set up for yourself that once or twice a month you send out to everybody in your company an article that you saw about cyber theft, just as a reminder to say, hey, be aware. This problem is never going away. If your defenses are secure enough now and they bounce off, well, if they know that you have $50 million that you're protecting, they're going to go hire some people to be part of a team to come and break in. So make sure all of the targeting information is out. If you're a management company, you've got association boards that are demanding that this information be put on their website, which you know makes them a target, which means you're going to get attacked because of them. You need to let them go. Because when they get into you, they're going to get into all of your customers, not just that one, because they're into your mainframe and now they can see all of your customers. So you might have just destroyed your company, and we know how rumors get out of the industry. Right? Watch out in particular for COVID-19 types of related things being sent to your staff. Make them aware. You can't train them enough. The situation's not going to go away. When COVID-19 finally goes away, it's going to be some other topic they're going to use. There are different types of software out there and hardware that you can buy that will reduce your chances. And here, let's face it, you can't prevent 100% that you're going to get attacked through the internet unless you're totally off the internet, and that's just not practical today. So what you're trying to do is make yourself a smaller target so they go after my neighbor. As not nice as that might sound, just don't go after me because other people are easier. And that needs to be your focus. How do I make myself as small a target as possible so that I'm not the biggest, slowest zebra on the plane when the lions go hunting, right? I'm faster than the next. And that needs to be your perspective. And then if they do get through, with you're not going to be 100% protected, then what do we need to have in place to save us if they break through? And that's where the insurance is critical. And I think your 2 points of either having the right types of coverage and then how much do we have, that can be really tricky, and this really needs to be a discussion for your group, because I was in a management company that I oversee $15 million in reserve funds. Do I need $15 million in coverage? Is there even $15 million in coverage available with the various combinations? Did I have coverage for me? Could I be co-insured with each of my associations? So, and how do I charge that? Does the association pay for their coverage on their reserve money, and then I pay for my co-insurance to try to cover everybody else? And for you management companies out there, if they refuse to pay for it, do I pay for it, or do I say, these people are somebody that's dangerous for me to have? Because my coverage is going to have to kick in on theirs. So there's a whole bunch of different things that are kind of a matrix of issues here that as we go through this process, Kevin and I have been teaching on this for years, but I started going on 11 years ago with my very first cyber theft program, and I taught in Missouri. And I remember we had a broker there, and he searched amongst well over 100 insurance companies and found 2 that actually had social engineering coverage 10 years ago. Only 2. So I wasn't the expert to determine the quality of that coverage, but that wasn't even on people's radar. We know today there's a lot more different coverages, there's a lot more carriers out there, but in many respects, the insurance industry, just like the community association industry, is feeling its way through on what these risks are. And at some point, if it isn't already happening yet, Kevin, and I'll finish with this, is that I think at some point, Insurance carriers are going to say, if you don't do these things, your coverage is going to be null. If you haven't done these things to help mitigate your risk, we're not covering you or we're not paying. And if it's not here yet, it's definitely going to come. The risk is too great.
Yeah, and that's what happens from now in terms of underwriting. When we look at a cyber account before we agree to it, we look at basic things that they do. They change their passwords. Do they update their systems? And the problem is a lot of the associations don't even understand just basic things you need to do. And I have to say right now, you nailed the social engineering part of it, because social engineering has been the #1 claim we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years, and nobody's providing that coverage. I mean, it's only a hand. I would say right now in community associations, I would say about 80%, 90% do not have social engineering coverage on their policy. Not at all.
Yeah, I believe it.
And it's amazing, because that's how it's going to happen. You can get tricked out of the reserve account. You're going to get an email saying that, yeah, I finished the painting, the landscaping's all done. Please send the remainder of the invoice immediately to avoid any late fees. You send it out, it goes, and then all of a sudden the contractor comes in and says, where's my $300,000 at? You said, well, I sent it to you last week. You asked for it. That's excluded under all your cyber. It's excluded under your crime. Not excluded, it's not covered, because you're giving money away. Unless you have a social engineering endorsement on your crime policy, you have no coverage. And that's where most of your claims are coming from right now. And it's not covering most of your policies. So you got to make sure social engineering coverage is there. The other thing we talk about is once they're in your system, they want two things. They do want the reserve account and operating account, but they also want the data. They're looking for names. They're looking for account numbers. They're looking for all that information, because now you talk about identities. Now they can have all those identities that they can still sell, do everything they want to do with all that information. So once they're in that system, that community association, that board member's system, and you have 100 people living there, you can imagine what access they have. So it's not just the money, it's the data. So when you're looking at a cyber policy, you're talking about the data breach itself, the loss of all that information. And because of COVID-19, if you do have a data breach, it is harder today to actually get people to come out there to even find out what's going on. I mean, where do you go? If you're a management company, right, and all of a sudden you have a data breach, well, who do you contact? And you're at home and you know what to do, and you don't even know if it's a data breach or not. So because we're not working together, the likelihood of a data breach is occurring is greater. Then you have to do all different things you have to do. You have to do the discovery, you have to do call letters, you have to do all different things, and it's not going to be as easy, because where do you go? So it's really important to have the data breach, the social engineering, and one of the most important coverages is the ransomware coverage. It is such a critical thing that we see. When we have ransomware out there, I would say right now that is the tricky. If you have a community association out there, anywhere out there, and you have a server in there, you are prime for attack on ransomware coverage. The ransomware coverage right now is to me, the fastest growing area, along with, well, social engineering is on side up. And here's your example right here. If you see something like this, you're in trouble. This is the WannaCry worm that was attacked all Microsoft computers several years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. If you didn't update your system, you were prone to this thing. And people knew about it and get locked in. And if you didn't do this, you're sitting there looking at that on your screen, you're in trouble. And again, this is a coverage that most people do not have. We never heard of that thing 5 years ago. We never heard of these kind of claims 5 years ago. Now they're prevalent. If you have a community association with a server in there, this can happen to you. If you're a property manager, if you're an insurance agent, this is your biggest problem you're going to have, because once it's locked down, you have to pay people to get rid of. You have to actually pay to get access to it, to get the key, and then you have to hope they don't come back. First, you got to hope that they give you the key, and then you got to hope that once you have the key, they're not going to do it again 6 months from now. So I would say right now, when we talk about insurance coverages, Alan, social engineering, you got to be worried about ransomware coverage. You got to have the data breach coverage, Those are the three things that really going to make a difference, especially now because we're so distracted under this coronavirus thing that we can't really focus on the things we should be focusing on. We took our eyes off everything because we're all working from home. And can you imagine what can happen and when we all go back to our offices and plug our computers back into that server? Could you imagine how that's going to look like? You know, all these computers been home for all this time, and we don't know what we've been downloading and all these computers, and we hooked it back in that server. You know.
Yeah, especially if people have been using their personal computers, and so some folks, well, I'll just put it on a memory stick and take it in, and then just load all my data I've been working in on the work computer. Well, they don't realize that their memory stick is carrying a virus. They're now going to take it from their personal computer and put it into their work computer just off the memory stick. On that ransomware, I've had customers. I had one customer who got attacked, and they thought, oh, no big deal. I'll just go back to I'll go to a couple of days ago of my backups and use that. And they discovered that all of their backups were corrupted and had been corrupted since they first started. They never checked to see if their backups even worked. So that was a nightmare for them. And then if they've been in, if you're not making any effort to figure out how they got in, they're going to get in again. You have to totally wipe your computer. You have to go to experts. None of these things that Kevin you talked about are cheap. None of it's cheap. It's all expensive. And so you need to be put the notices that you have to. Some states, if you even suspect you've had a breach, you have to notify all of the potential people that could be attacked. Here's another nightmare for our management company folks out there. Many of them do what are called automatic payments, ACH. So if I get into that and they transfer the file to their bank, and their bank takes that file and they send it out into the world, and that pulls the money from all the homeowners' accounts. That file has homeowners' personal checking account numbers on it. So if you've got 500 homeowners that are making automatic payments every month, right, and you're sending that file out, and they get in and copy that file. They didn't take it and see it's gone. They just copied it. They can now do an ACH against all 500 homeowners' personal accounts. That's a nightmare. Imagine that annual meeting. Imagine that special meeting with that community to talk about all of those homeowners whose personal accounts just got hit for $1,000 or $500 or whatever they thought they could get through. None of this stuff is cheap, and so it's better to take a course of action to prevent it from happening, understanding that you cannot be 100% safe, and for that percentage that you're not safe, that you have the proper coverages in place to save your company and save your community.
Okay, so let's talk about what keeps you up at night. What's your big thing? What's that one thing that says, this is my biggest fear? This is the one that really matters. Yeah.
Well, for me, I've been doing community association banking for going on 30 years, and like I said, I've talked about the cyber problem for about 10. Many times I've been in situations. I've worked with over probably 800 communities in that time for financing for special projects and working with them on special assessments, investment placement, etc. Here's my biggest fear: is that you're going to have a community that needs $1 million for a roof, and half the people didn't have it, and they went out and they borrowed money for half, and the other half, you squeezed that stone as hard as you could, and you got as much out of people as you could get, and you finally got all the money in one place, and it's stolen, right? It's stolen, you don't have insurance, and by the way, your roof still needs to be fixed. How are you going to fix your roof? You still owe the bank. The fact that your money was stolen doesn't change the fact you owe the bank. The homeowners coughed up everything they could cough up. There is no more money to cough up, and the roof still needs to get fixed. And the longer you wait, the more damage there will be, and the more expensive it becomes. That's the big nightmare for me. I haven't seen it yet, but it's coming. It's going to happen to somebody, and hopefully it's not going to happen to anybody on this seminar.
Yeah, you know what? That's the kind of things that we deal with all the time, where you have a loss and not enough insurance to pay for that loss. For me, the bigger issue is coverages that are not available for technology that's already happened. And I give you a perfect example, and this is amazing, is that about 3 or 4 months, about a year now, we have something called telecommunication fraud coverage. So somebody use access to any telecommunication products. If there's a loss, we pay the loss. And so it's cost it's a $10 endorsement. We started adding on our policies, and I walked into an agent's office, and the agent said, guess what? We had a claim for $500,000 from Verizon. where somebody came into our management company, came into our association, came inside there and made calls on our phone to the tune of $500,000. It was not a hack. So it had cyber policy. There was no hacking done there. Either an employee did it, or somebody from the outside came in and again made $500,000 for robocalls, which I get them quite frequently, which I got 3 of them this morning already. And what happened was they took too long to do anything about it. So by the time that month was over, another $250,000 Verizon bill came in. And so the $750,000 telecommunication fraud situation happened that we never even heard of the coverage before. And I'm walking in there and saying, I have a new endorsement. And she said, thank you. But again, this is one of those things that nobody even heard of. I mean, this is kind of claims that are happening faster and faster. And it's not cyber because it wasn't any hacking. If it was an employee, it'd be employee dishonesty, not a problem. But if it's somebody from the outside who did it, different story. So my biggest fear, again, is what we don't know right now. And things are moving so rapidly. 5 years ago, things we're talking about today didn't even exist, 5, 6 years ago. So,
Right.
So I guess let's see if we got any questions. Hey, Sherry, do we have any questions out there? Anybody call? Anybody needs anything? Want to know?
Let me check, Kevin. I haven't seen, somebody asked earlier, what type of specific insurance coverage would you recommend? And we've already talked about that. You talked about cyber, social engineering, and crime, et cetera. I don't see that any others have come in. Let me see.
Okay.
No, that looks like it was it. But if anybody, thinks of any questions afterwards, send me an email. My email is sbranson@kdins.com, and we're happy to answer your questions later on. And I did want to mention that I record all of the webinars and I put them on our website, which is kdisonline.com. You can listen to today's webinar and all of our past webinars as well. And thank you for joining us. Thanks
a lot, guys. Glad you. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon.
No, can you add your interview?